Now, when we look at the big award for the year, the World Player of the Year award, in a similar way to when Adi Savia got it, Malcolm Marx's body of work at some point was not going to be ignored, right? Your old mate had the winner at some stage and boom, it's his now.
Look, I think there was smiles on this podcast, I think with Jipper wanting to know that he was named World Player of the Year. But look, I think for this year, it was a little bit different. I think he's played a lot of minutes. Like I think when in the past he's been off the bench coming with Bongi, and I think it's been probably hard to have that body of work to be able to be named World Player of the Year with a consistency of minutes that you probably need to play to be able to win it. But yeah, he's been massive for them this year. He's played a lot of minutes, played a lot of games. I know that they probably go a little bit of they change a lot of players in that South African team, but Malcolm Marx in a lot of big games has been there pretty much all the time. So thoroughly deserved. Look forward to seeing him. He probably gets back in a week's time, so I'll be on the golf course with him, Ross, and I'll be able to figure out how he had his year and see his golf swing. So no, looking forward to seeing him again.
Well, I've been on a crusade for many years to get him in that 2 jersey, so it was only a matter of time. Yeah. The more minutes he was given, he always had the skill set and the ability to be World Player of the Year, and it's credit to him. He's been patient, he's played his role for his team, and now got his opportunity to wear the 2 jersey more often than not and World Player of the Year. Probably could have been it for a number of years.
Yeah, true. I did feel bad for Oxen Chair because, let's face it, like when we had Ben Tamefuna on, we've had people that we've had on the show, they talk about that guy, and props don't win World Player of the Year awards. To see him in the finalists was like, well, it's about blooming time that a prop almost is recognised.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the hard thing is there was a fellow front rower named with him. So you almost felt it was going to be one of them. And I suppose Malcolm's game is, in terms of, I don't know the judges, but it's appealing visually, isn't it? Like you see more of it.
And big impacts.
Massive impacts. And I suppose it's that context that, but as you said in the opening, that scrum, Oxen Chair is a big part of that superpower, that super weapon that the Springboks have. And yeah, it was a toss of the coin. Biel Berry, the way he played against the Wallabies, he'll feel hard done by. I'm sure it was decided before that game, but some of his performances, it's rugby's in a good space.
It is. And while I'm shamelessly plugging our new YouTube channel, go to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod YouTube channel and you can catch the Malcolm Marx interview that we did earlier in the year as well. Malcolm was on the show and he was fantastic. So yes, let's go from there to the obvious place to go from there. You've just mentioned it, this Boks scrum. Look, my argument is that I think this Boks scrum, particularly probably in the professional era, is possibly the greatest weapon that any team has had of a particular skill set ever. My finalists were Jonah Lomu in 95 and Johnny Wilkinson in 2003 along with this scrum. Johnny, because get him in the half and he'll kick you 3 and you can accumulate. Jonah, I don't have to explain that. But my argument is that neither of those two people, as individual skill sets that made big impacts on games, could leave you with 2 yellow cards, the other team down, create tries, create 3-point opportunities. This scrum is out of this world. The best scrums in the world have no chance of handling it. And it is a weapon that means that the Boks can just obliterate teams.
Oh, you're speaking my sort of language there, Ross. I tell you what, it's about time the scrum got some respect.
Well,
everyone's trying to get it out of the game, every rule's to get rid of it. And it just shows you, if you put the work in, you can dominate the world. And, they've had them all. But this scrum is something else. And you sent some videos that I think Russie put on X around some of the training he's done, the coach up at his farm. And there's one with this chain contraption where, because you don't know where the weight's coming from, you can see that he's trying to create that instability but have that perfect pushing shape. And then I think what I've been trying to explain, maybe not that well, as to why the Springboks are so good, but he just seems to work on that, that fire, that first fire. And what we were always coached is do the fire, but then get those feet, catch them up quite quick so that you can fire again. But he really trains them just to focus on that fire and then almost they let that sit and then they catch up slowly. It was just a different concept that I picked up, but it's just training that muscle memory to know that when you're hearing your Lucy, call and go, or your nines putting the ball in, you're getting the absolute most out of that first initial shunt. And then because they're so strong, they can be caught a little bit long, and that's all right, because they have the ability to, I suppose, slowly chase up and then do the damage again, and or lock their core because of the training on that the chains device. You're sort of creating that instability in a bad position, and they just never can be put in a bad position. Like scrummaging's all about trying to dictate terms and put them in positions they don't want to be. Even if they lose the hit, they seem to be able to have that sort of trigger mindset to get out of it. But it's an all of 8 thing. Like, we focus on the front row, but the work that's gone in, it's pretty special.
Even down to Esterhazen. We joked about him last week, Brenna, but you got a guy like that who comes in, he had Bundy Aki on the other side of the scrum from him in this particular game. That's how weird it is. But everybody knows how to scrum.
There's just no out. And you just kind of felt sorry for Arnold. They just keep putting him on the scrum penalties. Like when they got penalties, we're going to go for a scrum again. And you just knew. You knew there was going to be another yellow card. And I think what was there? There was 4 yellow cards and a red card. We'll probably talk a little bit more around Ireland's discipline issues. But this is a little bit different when we were in the Crusaders and knowing when times got tough or when we felt like we could just go to our scrum penalty, you were able to get momentum from there anywhere on the field. You just felt that you were able to get a penalty, gain momentum. If you didn't have momentum and there was a scrum call, we knew there was a good opportunity to be able to get a penalty and then restart your attack from that. So, yeah, it's impressive to watch. And I think for the world of rugby at the moment, and I guess scrum coaches, it's how do you beat it? How do you try and dominate it? How do you try and be better at it? And look, there's been solutions. I saw Ireland do it. The All Blacks did it when there's just quick hooks to be able to get the ball in and out and not being able to use that Springbok scrum. But yeah, Joe, I don't think I've seen a scrum really that is able to go toe-to-toe for them in world rugby at this moment. No,
I'd love to go to their training sessions because I reckon that would be as close as it gets to, like they are.
Their second date.
Yeah, because there is hours and hours of work that's gone into that. Hours and hours individually in the gym, first and foremost. Hours and hours individually in their operating groups, whether it be front row, second row, loosies, all understanding what their role is. And then from what I've seen of South African trainings, I've never been at one, but any footage that's come out of it, they train how you've got to play. So they're ready for test match. Like they're ready. It's almost like the test match day is probably less intense.
What do you see as a solution to be able to try to be better in this space?
It's just timing. Again, I'll go back to what I just said. It is the work. You've got to put the work in. But it's matching their timing of the transition of weight. We have those sleds here, but they have fixed sort of platforms to put your sand shoes in.
Yeah.
And get the fire with the weight in the gym. But what he had there with the chain, and I don't know if we're allowed to share it, but if you...
We will anyway.
Yeah. But just seeing how they have to lock their core, and he's got this chain construction where their feet are, and it's all unstable. So I do think there's an element of being ahead of the curve with some of these techniques. And then I will be honest, the size of the humans, it does count.
Yeah, there's some large characters there.
But they're using that body so well.
But also, by the looks of it, they're getting these props into fantastic shape. And, there have been Springbok props in the past who you probably consider a little more round than muscly.
So although the weight's come down, the actual muscle weight's gone up. And, that's one aspect. But I do think his techniques of, just doing repetition, I think that's a big part of it. They have put a lot of time. It's like a hooker with the throwing. I threw every day. I wanted to make sure it was just automated, that I could just pull it out any time. And sometimes when it's physical, you've got to manage players' bodies, and you can sometimes towards the end of the season start buttoning off. I feel like they've ramped it up.
Yeah.
I do think it's simple in the fact that they've done the most amount of repetitions throughout a 12-month span.
Yeah. So, look, if you've got any arguments against my argument that the Springbok scrum is the best weapon that's ever been in professional rugby era. I'd like to hear it. Send us an email through it, arp@fandommedia.co.nz, and we'll look to get out as soon as we get some more content out on the channel. The turning point for this week, the Ashley and Martin turning point in that game, related, I suppose, to the scrums which forced yellow cards and a bunch of penalties, was just the yellow cards, Brynner. Just left, right and centre. So 5 cards. Apparently Fiji back in 2003 copped 5 yellows, so it sounds like this trumps it as a record when you include a red. Massive impact on the game, but in saying that, the Irish were so gutsy.
Well, yeah, I think Brian O'Driscoll actually talked about it on the commentary around, like, you know, they might not win this game, but the effort and I guess the care for the jersey, you could see it, and look, it was like you could even feel the crowd. I think, you know, 4 yellow cards, a red card, you know, playing with 13, 14 men. I guess the resilience and character that team showed was actually great for, I guess, a fan to be able to watch, because I think we always probably knew that. You look at the back end of the game, especially when Sasha scored his try in the 47th minute, and you know, to make it 14 points, it was probably a step too far with the scrum not being able to get there right. I guess the ill discipline. They had 18 penalties. Like, you're just not winning Test matches, but when you've got those kind of numbers. But look, the effort and the commitment to the jersey, it was really inspiring to watch. I think just they weren't able to get the job done. But I think if you were at Aviva, you walk away from that knowing that, geez, we tried everything, considering we didn't get the calls from the ref. We weren't able to get our discipline issues right, but geez, they put in an effort to be able to wear that jersey, walk off with their heads held high.
Oh, mate, it was a superb game, and the Irish were massive. And I think I've mentioned it on here before, but Wayne Smith once said, the people out there don't care about the outcome. They just want to see that you've left a little bit of yourself out there. And that crowd came to life.
Oof, they were 13th, 14th and 15th
at some point.
It
was just the noise. When they panned, it was just like, I get tingles. Just like, if you're a player, you can just keep going. You get up time and time again when you I suppose your country gets behind you like that. How it didn't blow out, I don't know. Like, that was just, it was unbelievable from Ireland. It was an absolute mammoth effort. The only time I question the Irish today is at 24-10, why take the 3?
Yeah.
I don't get that. If they'd gone down there and scored then, and then they had 100% territory and ball in the last 10 minutes.
How many men did they have on the field at that point?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
They definitely had men off. I get it, but it doesn't. You've got to have a short line out or something you can go to, because 3's just not going to do it. It was already, you know, into the last 20. I felt like that was a safe option. That's the only criticism I have of the game, because everything else, they were amazing. But I think they should have tried to grab... And I think if Johnny Sexton was there, not making it all about him, but he was the sort of captain or player that says, get into the corner. We'll have a crack at this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need someone in your team to grab you by the scruff of the neck and say, you know, we're on here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the cards.
Well, and they were, if they
were
scored.
on.
Yeah.
They were on.
Yeah.
And then in that last 10 minutes when they had all the ball in possession, they could work themselves to try and get... the draw.
Yeah, they did score a try while down 2 men.
Yeah,
that was pretty fantastic effort there.
Well, they were men possessed. Like, I just think they could have backed themselves then.
Yeah. Brynner, the defence from both teams. I think Ireland only got 1.2 points per 22-metre entry. The Boks only got 2.4. So it really was a game where they were fighting for their own lines.
It was just the physicality and I guess the efficiency of being able to make the tackle. Like, I think both teams. At times, the double shoulder, the 2v1, being able to make right decisions at the right time. And I know there was a lot of penalties for Ireland, but geez, they just wouldn't give up. You just could see that two teams defensively on the ball just cared about the guy next to them. And so, like, it was a really good test match to watch. And I know they'll talk around the yellow cards, but even with the numerical advantage that the South Africans did have, it was still an enthralling test match. And I just looked at it being like, geez, this is one of the better test matches I've watched, just with what, not just the theatre behind it and all, I guess, the commotion with the other cards, but geez, there was some care and there was a bit of blood and sweat and tears left on that field from both sides, which I really enjoyed watching.
In that backfield, was it Crowley? He got back. He was outstanding.
Yeah, twice in about a minute.
I know, and men down, it was like there was just a desperation on another level.
Yeah, it was superb.
Yeah.
But let's look at those cards. I mean, first off, when we saw Sasha not get a card, it was like, oh, that's not consistent with what we've seen before. Maybe he's going to play it super conservative today and not give out any cards.
Yeah, well, he started that way.
Yeah.
In the end, I don't even think he was having conversations with the captain. He was just pulling them out of the pocket. Off you go. Off you go. Like it wasn't comical, but it was comical. I think like the James Ryan one's a great example of, this team's big, physical, and you want to set the tone. Like forward packs get into this mindset of like, right, we need to... There is just the balance between sort of like fire in the belly, cool upstairs, and this is what makes South Africa hard to beat, because you have to do that. You can't avoid that. What he did, yes, he got it wrong, but you have to impose yourself physically on South Africa to make them go, oh, this isn't going to be that straightforward today.
But that's what they kind of want from you too, right? Like the pressure that the Boks put on, Bryn. They make you do things that maybe you shouldn't really do, and their pressure game just gets you there, and then someone acts out. I do think it's the weak build-up though as well, like coaches understanding. Like I just think as a forward, like I've been in rooms where they're just like, right, we've got to set the tone, and like you fly off the handle in the first 5 minutes, and you're just like, what have I done?
Yeah.
But it's just been building all week, and that's what it looked like. Ryan's not he's not I suppose a malicious player. Like he was just, oh man, I shouldn't laugh, but it was quite funny because I was like, he has just dived head first into the ruck. In the presence of the World Player of the Year, of course you've got to be quick, but I suppose you've got to keep those feet moving. Sorry, Bryn.
He just absolutely launched into him. Like, yeah, it was just taking off his feet. But to your point though, Jip, like, I think especially when you're playing the South Africa, it's a physicality game. And the Irish forward pack would have known going into that game that we've got to try and win the physicality battle. And so, unfortunately, he's just got it wrong. And look, we've touched on the scrum pressure that I guess with Porter, the line-out maul, the penalty try to be able to have a yellow card, and I guess just a few brain exposures for Prendergast and Crowley, where they're under pressure the whole time. So, yeah. One thing Andy Farrell he'll be proud of his group, I guess the resilience that they did show, and a lot of care for the Jews in the game. But yeah, you just can't win test matches, especially against the South African team, having 18 penalties and 4 yellow cards and a red card. 4 yellow cards and a red card against South Africa. There's no way you win against this match.
It's a hell of a shift from the ref as well. It's so easy to pull out and go, okay, I've given a few, I can't give them another one.
Yeah, especially when the crowd's on you. Like the crowd was giving it to him.
But like, he wasn't wrong, but I've never seen it just keep coming. That's why I think the skipper just stopped talking to them.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, yeah, okay.
I'm done now.
Yeah.
Especially when Snyman, his yellow card was rescinded because of a foot in touch. And he was like, oh, this isn't your night.
No, it's certainly not. He just trudges back onto the field.
It was bizarre. That was the thing. It was a bizarre game. But at the same time, while there weren't many tries scored and there were yellow cards everywhere, and it was all of the things that you don't think will create a spectacle, created the best spectacle.
I know. If we were sitting here just not watching the game, if we just read the reviews and said 5 yellow cards for Ireland, and like you just think, oh, the game's been ruined, but it just wasn't. Like I know for Ireland fans, they probably wanted 13, 14, 15 players on the field, but the theatre around it, the emotion from the Irish players when they were able to, stunt the momentum of South Africa when they were trying to score a try, you could just feel it. The crowd came to light as well. So probably the booing, obviously with the ref as well, that kind of stuff. It was just it was enthralling. It was a different watch. If you tell me before the game, if I saw 4 yellow cards and a red card, I would probably be sitting here like this ruined the game. But that was far from it. It was a great watch. And I loved watching it.
I think it would have been for the neutrals.
Yeah.
Like, we're all neutral.
Yeah. I think the Boks would have enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I think they would have enjoyed the scrum, but yeah, there'd be a lot more frustration. Although they got behind their side, I think the ref might be part of a few discussions in the pubs post.
I get the feeling the South Africa-Ireland rivalry has gone in a similar way to the New Zealand-Ireland rivalry, where there's like an incredible intenseness about it. And, after what happened at the World Cup, the singing and all of those things that happened, The difference between the South African-New Zealand rivalry and the New Zealand-Ireland rivalry and the South Africa-Ireland rivalry is you feel there's a touch of bitterness there. There's something there that's just a little bit more. It's not just built on respect, it's built on a bit of anger too.
Oh, yeah, and plenty of dislike. You know,
Yeah.
like, you've just got to look at if you look at Ireland All Blacks, you know, Pete O'Mahony to Sam Cane, Rieko Ioane to Johnny Sexton, like there is, yeah, it feels more genuine dislike. Even with South Africa Ireland, it's, I think it was, who scored the try? Can't remember the South African player who scored the try, but Bundy Aki runs up and gives a spray. Like, whereas I think when New Zealand and South Africa play, like they're quite complimentary of each other. It's quite civil in the build-up and civil on the field, and I think that's probably because of the history and the length of time, but there's definitely an edge.
Yeah.
Ireland bring plenty of edge out of both South Africa and All
To be
Blacks.
fair, it's two of the Kiwis that bring the edge. James
Yeah,
Lowe gets
yeah,
under their skin, Brenner. It's something terrible.
Well, James, I did that before he went to Ireland. That was always part of his DNA to be able to get under the skin of players. And so in Bundy Aki, he was obviously quite passionate with not only what Jip referred to, but even like trying to hype up the crowd when they're under pressure with 13 men. So yeah, a bit of not animosity, but I guess a bit of feeling between those two nations.